Greetings, mighty companions, and welcome back to Transforming Relationships Through a Course in Miracles, the Tuesday edition.
Yes.
The Tuesday edition. And we have already done our random number generator prayer, and then let the random number generator, we let Spirit use it, and we have come up with Chapter 2, Section 8. In the purple covered edition, which is the original dictation. Oh, I mean 13. Sorry. So
the confusion is that 8 is kind of close in the blue book, but 13 is where we're going to be reading from in the purple book, but they're not going to line up.
So, exactly. So, but if you want to kind of get the gist, then it's, if you have the blue covered edition, Chapter 2, Section 8.
Yes, because it does mingle with this subject.
Exactly.
And it is titled The Meaning of the Last Judgment in the blue book, and the only difference is in the annotated it says the real meaning of the last judgment. And the annotated edition, the purple covered edition, that's the original dictation as it came through Helen Schuckman. The blue covered edition is the edited, where stuff was taken out, stuff was moved around, and so Greg and I like to use the original dictation, and we just share with you where it generally is in the blue book in case that's the only book you have. Right. Alrighty, and we encourage you to download or get a copy of the original dictation, which is in a purple covered edition, the complete and annotated edition, or it's a black covered edition that has a string of white pearls on the cover. Both of those have the original dictation that came through Helen Schuckman, the scribe. Okay, with that all said, we are talking about relationships and what A Course in Miracles has to say about relationships. And we're going to try to apply, do something crazy and apply it to our relationships in general, our relationship right here with you, so that we can all learn together what the heck this book is saying, and also how the heck do you apply it in your relationships, which typically are our most challenging places in our lives. Our relationships. Yeah, what's more challenging than a relationship?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all of them. It's like the purifying fire. Relationships.
I think I'm gonna go purify myself and go out and be around some people today.
Exactly. It's like the purifying fire, because whatever is unhealed within you is going to be inflamed, it's going to be highlighted, it's going to be pushed to the surface in your relationships. So it's almost like that's what our relationships are. They're like our proving grounds, or our schools. They literally comprise our earth school. And A Course in Miracles has a lot to say about relationships, because in the Course in Miracles curriculum, that is where our biggest challenges, and that is where our biggest gifts and biggest miracles really are.
Yep.
So there you go. So the real meaning of the last judgment.
All right. Not just any old meaning, but the real one.
And I titled this, let's make the last judgment, shall we? Like we don't need judgment anymore.
And growing up,
we don't need it.
And growing up, didn't all of us, shouldn't I say, weren't most of us kind of fearful about the last judgment?
Dun, dun, dun.
The last judgment.
Well, we all.
Can I make it to that one, to the last one?
Exactly.
Woo.
And we all learned to fear the last judgment.
Right.
We all learned that in the end you will stand before your Creator. It doesn't matter what religion
your life will flash before you.
And then you will stand in judgment, and you will be judged.
It'll be the last judgment.
Exactly. And whoever
after that, no more.
And whoever heard the story of the last judgment in a way that was loving, we all learned that you're going to be judged in the end, and you should be scared. You should be really scared, because normally when you're being judged, it doesn't usually turn out real well.
And isn't it funny that we all can have the clarity to believe that heaven, if we make it to heaven, and we make it past the last judgment, that heaven is a place where there's no more judgment anymore. You don't have to worry anymore about getting in trouble, doing something wrong. You made it.
Yeah, but
we can imagine a time in reality where there would be a time of no judgment, where heaven's saying, that's now.
Yeah.
That's now. And
how about a reality where there is no more judgment?
I know, right?
Yeah, where that's not a thing. You don't have to worry about being judged. You're not being judged. So now what? Get on with it.
What do we do now?
What do you do
Can't
now?
sit around judged.
Not being judged, not worried about being
Can't
judged.
Sit around and talk about the president and talk about
oh my God.
the school administration.
Whatever would we talk about if we weren't judging?
About our countries.
Whatever would we have to talk about? Oh my God.
What would we talk about?
Exactly.
The weather, how the weather sucks today.
Well, we could talk about how only love is real and everything is love and everybody is loved and everybody is innocent, but I don't know, kind of boring, huh?
And we continue,
yes.
Spending our time judging good as if there was any bad.
Yes, as if we know the difference. So we're going to talk about, the Course in Miracles says that, hey, that whole last judgment thing, that's something that we do. The last judgment is like, would you like this to be your last judgment?
Are you ready to be done?
Yeah, are you ready to be done with judgment?
Are you ready to be at the last, the end of it?
Yeah, because how's judgment been working for you? How's judgment been working for you? Have you been making good judgments? Has it been resulting in peace for you? And how have you felt being judged? Did you like that? And what's judgment done for you lately? I mean, has it made your life incredibly rich and abundant and joyous and free? So, of course, in Miracles is talking about the idea of how about we stop judging? How about we leave judgment to God, God's one judgment, and then that's it.
Who God doesn't even sit around and judge.
No.
What is there to judge when everything you've created is perfect?
Exactly. Nothing.
You'll spend the first few days going, everything's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Another
now
day,
what?
Everything's good.
Everything's still
and
good.
by like the 6th or 7th day, you're like, this is just a repetition of the day before.
It's all
the
good.
day before, it's all good.
So maybe.
Why should I even be judging?
So,
that all there is good. Everything is very good. So
if everything is good and I don't need to judge, well, why don't I just start enjoying myself?
I think I'll spend my judgment energy on something creative.
Exactly, like loving and creative and fun.
Right.
How about that? What a radical concept. All right, so the real meaning of the last judgment. Judgment is not supposed to be something that goes on forever. All right, good to know.
Good.
Great. We have said that whatever you make or create is real in your own eyes, but not necessarily in the sight of God.
And what I find hilarious about this is our last few readings have talked a lot about as we think we're creating perception, but what our eyes are seeing, just our last class we were learning, what our eyes are seeing is not real. What our eyes were made, what was it saying?
It was saying that eyes don't see, only the mind sees.
Right.
So your mind tells your eyes what your eyes are seeing, not the other way around.
And right after we do a class like that, the very first sentence is we have said,
yes,
how
they
comical
have.
is that?
Yeah, we said last week.
We have said that whatever you make, which the Course says you made your eyes to go and see.
To not see.
A world that's not real.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're right, Course teacher. You have said that whatever you make or create is real in your own eyes. But it's almost like, so let's continue on from there. Because just because you've done that doesn't make it real in God's eyes.
Right.
Doesn't change anything.
And the difference between just because it seems real to you doesn't mean that's real to God. that this basic distinction between what's real to you and what's real to God leads us directly into the real meaning of the last judgment. So just because something is real to you doesn't mean it's real in truth. You know, it's like, oh, what a radical concept. I just assume that everything that I believe that is what God believes. I mean, come on. You know, if I think it's true, well, then that's the truth. If I think it's real, then obviously that's what God must think is real. And if God doesn't agree with me, God is wrong.
Think of that old saying. That old saying. Well, as I see it.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. Deborah says, "Oh, happy chance I find you guys so funny. I guess I need it. Things that make you go, Yeah, it's no coincidence, Deborah, that you found us here again today. All right. And hi, Demi. Lovely to see you, dear. Okay. Now, so it says, what leads us directly into understanding the real meaning of the last judgment is the realization that just because something seems real to you doesn't necessarily mean that's reality to God. The final judgment is one of the greatest threat concepts in humanity's perception.
In humanity, and isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was saying earlier. Most of us grew up, the final judgment.
Scary.
Boy.
That was scary.
Oh boy, I hope because you can't really rest. It's sort of like until you get the final grade.
Yeah.
At the end of the semester.
Yeah.
You know you have that final grade coming. Well, that's what we were all taught. That final judgment. Boy, howdy, I hope I make it. Boy, I hope I had it right. I hope I didn't screw this up in however many years that I got to live.
It's a very threatening idea.
It's very threatening.
And when people taught us about the last judgment, it was in a threatening connotation. It was with threat connotations, you know. It's like, oh, just you wait for that final judgment, you know, even though I can't kick your ass. You wait till you have to stand before your creator and then you'll get it. Then you'll get your due. You know, the last judgment was always given to us with threatening implications.
And likely so, if you believe like me that we're a body, then we're vulnerable. We're subject to limitations. And so any kind of judgment that could be pursuing in the end later on, because we think we're vulnerable creatures, you know, that we're lacking, that we could get hurt in some way, that we could be left out for some reason. That's all of that ancient belief that we're trying to unravel. And because of that, any judgment, final judgment, would seem very threatening to somebody that is vulnerable, that feels vulnerable.
Exactly. And so that was paragraph 1. Okay, so hi Monica, lovely to see you. She says, what about a life review at death? Yes, good question. Well, a life review is very different than standing before your creator, waiting for your creator to pass judgment on you. You know, one of Greg and my all-time favorite movies of all time is called
Defending Your Life.
Defending Your Life. You know, where this person dies, and they go, you know, to, you know, what's called Judgment City. You know, where they're gonna do but in Judgment City, in this movie, it's not God passing judgment. Let's see what you did. Let me review your life. Oh, guilty. Next. Really, life review, what really happens after death, if you listen to people's near-death experiences, is that you are reviewing your life with your loving guides to see if you learned what you came here to learn. You know, and all of us came here to learn how to face our fears and to choose love instead. You know, all of us came here to release ourselves from judgment. That's what really happens at death. If you talk to people who've actually died, that's what they'll tell you. It's not about God passing judgment. It's about you asking yourself, did I learn to face my fears and to choose love in this lifetime?
And when you're sitting there with your teacher and you're reviewing at the end of the, time frame what you've learned, you don't ever feel bad.
No.
In fact, it's really a celebration time. Let's look back and go over
see what you learned.
Everything we've learned. Oh, see, you remember when you were at that point, and right when everything around you seemed like you should just give up hope. And look what you did.
Did you give up hope?
You didn't. You finally chose another way.
Yes.
And not only did you do that, remember what a wonderful demonstrator you were for others. That's what the review is. Because it would be a review as any loving parent would go over with their children about something they're learning. It's not going to be like, and then look at here when you were 9 years old. And let's talk about this. And you're, that's not how a parent review with their child of something that they've came to learn something would be like. It's going to be loving, it's going to be nurturing. Just like our life is now, even though we don't see it now, we'll see it then.
Exactly.
Because we won't be in learning school anymore.
Exactly. And so beautiful. I love it. Monica, that was a great question. Thanks for asking that.
That was a good question. I love that.
And hi, Tricia. Lovely to see you, my dear. Okay. And Tricia says, no, I did not and will not give up hope. Wonderful. No need to give up hope.
And we're your witnesses.
Absolutely.
Tricia.
Absolutely. It says the final judgment is one of the greatest threat concepts in humanity's perception. And this is only because we do not understand the last judgment.
Okay. We don't understand it.
Exactly. We're like, because we were taught last judgment is something bad. Like you should be afraid of that because you're guilty,
Remember, your life is going to flash before you and everybody will know everything.
I mean, in the Jewish religion, which I was raised in, we're taught that every year, we come up for review. every year we got a yearly review from Creator, where God, does a judgment on you, and the judgment is whether God is going to write your name in the book of life for one more year. It's like a yearly review, and it's only for 1 year. It's like pretty hardcore. It's like, oh crap, I hate that yearly review. Oh my God, is my Creator, who supposedly only love, going to judge against me that I deserve 1 more year of living or not? And so that's pretty serious. That's a very threatening concept. And every religion has that. The final judgment is, you should be afraid of God's final judgment. Because God could judge finally that, no, not even 1 more year, you're out, okay? Every religion has that threatening concept called God's final judgment that you need to fear, okay? It says, you don't understand God, the final judgment. It says, judgment is not an essential attribute of God. What? What do you mean that's not an essential attribute of God? We learned in whatever religion we came up through that's what God does. He sits around on a cloud all day judging, and usually not for good.
You usually see 2 pictures of God. One's on a big throne, and what does one that's on a big throne do? They judge, they decree.
They decree, they pass judgments on their subjects.
On all their subjects. And that's the picture, that's the image we have of God.
As a judge.
As a judge. That's all we have been taught to think about God. When we're the ones that came up with this whole crazy judgment philosophy.
Imagine that. Think about this. We are all about judgment. We have projected that onto God and believe that God that's all God's doing is passing judgment. And the Course in Miracles is telling us that judgment is not an essential attribute of God. That's not what God's about.
God can do that, but it's not an essential attribute.
Yes.
I believe that God's already cast forth His
That's
judgment,
exactly.
as we were saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where God looked at everything
Called-
God created and said,
Called-
everything's
it's
very
good.
good.
It's good.
I think He made His judgment.
Yeah, that was
And then He took an afternoon delight nap and drank a
exactly
margarita or whatever God was in the mood for.
God's
And,
first judgment and God's last judgment.
first
He
and
saw
last
you're
judgment.
good. You're good.
Everything's very
You're good.
good.
I love you. You're loving. You're lovable. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Case dismissed. Let's go out and go play and have some fun. Let's go
Yeah.
to the beach. He says, we brought judgment into being. Judgment came from us. That was our idea. We brought judgment into being only because of the separation or the detour into fear. Yeah, we came up with judgment only after we did a detour into fear. We were like dee 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 da 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 da. Ooh, let's go for fear and guilt. We did a detour, okay, and only after we did our detour into fear, the concept of judgment came into our minds that we then projected onto God.
And this is, if we could catch this part right here, where the author of A Course in Miracles starts out the beginning of this lesson and says, I've said before, or sometimes it'll be, we've said many times. And if we could get this part right here, we brought, as Anna's clarifying, we brought
That was
judgment.
That was our idea.
It wasn't and it isn't God who brought judgment into being. We brought it into being, and because we brought it into being, then we introduced separation.
Yes.
You see the difference? God didn't introduce separation.
God didn't kick us out of the garden.
God didn't create judgment. God didn't bring judgment into existence. We did that. And just like our sight and our hearing, just because we can't see, just because we see something but God doesn't see it that way, doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
Just because we bring judgment in for the purpose of being able to separate us from our love and our Creator and our Source, doesn't make it true, doesn't make it right. And that's, again, what I love so much about our Creator is I can't mess it up. We've been taught you can mess it up.
Oh, maybe today, maybe tomorrow.
You can be born and be a mistake. You can be born and do it wrong. You can be born and go through the wrong door and end up in a troubled place. You can be born and created by the perfection of heaven itself and be a screwed up mess.
Yeah.
Come on.
That God Himself is going to judge. It says, we brought judgment into being only because of the detour into fear that we took. And that's because that God Himself is still the God of mercy. Okay? We brought in judgment. God has always been only mercy. We brought in judgment. God's only been mercy from the beginning and still is only mercy. God Himself is still the God of mercy, not the God of judgment. We all learned about the God of judgment. Beware, be afraid, be scared. But of course, the Course in Miracles describes God as only and still the God of mercy, not judgment. There's judgment and there's mercy.
There's an old saying, go and learn what this means. I, the Lord God, desire mercy and not sacrifice. Go and learn what that means. Yeah. Sacrifice is punishment. Yeah. Sacrifice is judgment. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, not judgment.
And so when you come to God, the real God, the true God, the real God, will the real God please stand up?
Just like,
and most
just
of
like
you are
the
too
title.
young to remember that game show.
Yeah.
Remember, that game show, Will the Real
real whatever.
Please stand
Tonight
up.
we're
Exactly.
doing, will the real final judgment please make yourself known. Will
Exactly.
the real God please
So
stand up.
when you come to God, you are not coming before the throne of judgment.
Right.
When you come to God, real God, not fake God, you're coming to the throne of mercy. Like the Course in Miracles says, the higher court will always dismiss the case against you. The higher court will always dismiss the case against you because there can be no case against a child of God.
How confident would we feel if we were taught growing up that one day you're going to come and be before the King of Mercy, the Princess of Mercy, the
Queen
top,
of Mercy.
yeah, the top kadab of mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else has ever demonstrated such mercy.
Yes.
That's who you're gonna come before.
Yes.
Would you be afraid, or to teach people you're gonna become before the biggest judge of all time?
Exactly.
Oh my God! I think, can I have the mercy door, please?
Exactly. Who could not feel afraid to come before a judge? But who could be afraid to come before a God of mercy?
Right.
And so the Course in Miracles, one of the greatest gifts I believe that A Course in Miracles offers is that it reminds us of the true nature of God, not the projected nature of God. Now we projected our egotistical nature onto God and now think that God is vengeful and judgmental and plays favorites and and of Course in Miracles is reminding us that all that we learned about God was false. If whatever you've learned about God has made you afraid of God, you didn't learn correctly. You didn't learn right. Real God, true God, is a God of mercy. The God of mercy. And mercy and judgment are different. They are not the same. They're opposites. And after the detour into fear that we did, after the detour into fear, however, there was a place for justice in the schema, because justice was one of the many learning devices, or judgment was one of the many learning devices which had to be built into the overall plan. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that, God doesn't judge. That's not an essential part of God's nature. But after the detour into fear, where we all fell asleep and decided judgment was God, then what had to be built into the healing plan for mankind, the concept of judgment had to be built in. Why? Because we spoke the language of judgment.
Thank you. I was just going to say everything you said.
Yeah, we spoke. Perfect. Now we're like, okay, well, now we've detoured into fear, so now judgment seems real and frightening.
It's how we know how to relate.
And we project it onto God, so now it is part of our language as humans. And so now here comes Spirit and goes, well, they speak the language of judgment, so we're going to have to we're going to have to speak their language to teach them that love doesn't judge them at all. And so now the healing plan, is built into speaks our language. What language do we speak? Judgment. So, okay, fine.
We were just saying at the beginning of class, if you think about our lives, sitting around the dining room table, walking down the street with somebody and our dog, whatever, just being around people in general, all of our conversation are about judgment, even if it's just talking about a sports team on TV. Yeah. We have so much judgment. We just think it's our literature of our nature.
Exactly.
And for a lot of us, our wisdom. Do you agree with my judgment? That's how I'll know how smart you are.
Exactly.
And where judgment is not an essential attribute of God. God does have the ability to judge, but it's not anything essential to God, because really there isn't anything to judge.
Right.
So why would you sit around wasting your time doing something that's really not, fruitful?
Exactly. It's meaningless. And so what I hear it saying is that God doesn't judge. Judgment is not what love does, and God is love. But since you all believe that's the language you speak, then I will speak to you in those terms, okay?
Right.
But only because you speak in terms of judgment. So, okay, fine. You want to hear my judgment?
Right. Now I'm going to have to teach you how, if you want to judge, okay, we'll play that game.
How about this judgment?
But you're going to have to judge rightly.
As I would judge,
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, fine. Well, we'll,
All right.
Okay, great. Well,
we'll learn how to judge
would you like to hear my judgment? Says God. So you think judgment is real, and you projected that onto me, and okay, here's my judgment. Would you like to hear that? Since you say that and then we hear through A Course in Miracles God's judgment, and it's not anything like what we learned about God's judgment. It's nothing to be feared. It's the opposite of what we all learned about God's judgment. It's literally the opposite.
And God is so loving. God is so loving that God doesn't come in and start beating us over the head, telling us how stupid that we are in our
coming up with judgment and projecting onto him
what
or her.
God does is start teaching us how love would see things. And it's in when you look at A Course in Miracles, you can see how loving it is. It's very patient. It lets us do it on our time schedule, as slow as we want to do it. God's got eternity. What does God care how long we want to take? But it's patient, and it's guiding, and it's not condescending. It's not, beating us over the head, but it's going to take us down a path of showing us what love is, but what love isn't, so that we can start recognizing to judge rightly.
Exactly.
Until we get to where we're hitting like a car on all cylinders, and we're just judging all the time rightly,
mercifully,
until we don't need a teacher anymore.
Exactly.
In other words, we literally come to a place like God, where we don't even need to judge any situations anymore, because what's there to judge?
Exactly.
Everything's going brilliantly, perfectly, wonderfully, just the way it is. And when we get in alignment, even if you can't see it, and that's the goal.
Exactly. And one of the issues or challenges is that we're judgment addicts.
I agree.
And
I was the other day when I was yelling at that guy out the window.
That was a little judgmental. We're judgment addicts, and like you were saying earlier, we don't know we're judgment addicts. We're like, I'm not judging. That's just an honest observation.
It was.
I'm just observing. I'm not judging that guy's a jerk. I'm just observing. Anybody could look at that and know that guy's a jerk. Even he knew he was being a jerk.
Yeah.
So we don't even know when we're judging. We literally think that our judgment, if somebody say, that was judgmental, I wasn't judging. I was just observing. Okay, so
anybody would have saw it that way.
Anybody would have seen it. That wasn't a judgment, that was just an observation. So, like you were saying, we have confused judgment with thinking. We don't realize that 99.9% of our thoughts are judgments.
Right.
And so we don't know we're judging, we just call that thinking.
Yeah.
That's not a judgment, I was just observing, I was just thinking.
I wonder what God spends all of God's time doing thinking when it's not spent in judging.
Exactly.
And it frees up God's mind to do other stuff. I wonder what other stuff God must be doing.
Yeah, well, he's
Well, God's not preoccupied in the world, in the land of judgment.
Well, because God isn't judging and wasting time judging, God is creating the good, the beautiful, and the holy.
Wow.
And if we weren't judging, then we would be creating the good, the beautiful, and the holy instead of creating a bunch of drama, and blaming it on somebody else.
In other words, being productive.
Exactly. So there's an alternative to living your life judging and creating pain, because it's not our role to be judging. That's not our job. That's not our role, and it's,
It's really nobody's role.
Exactly.
It's not even God's role.
It's not
an essential
exactly.
attribute. In other
it's
words,
not what God does.
It's not needed.
It's
That's
not
what
needed.
essential is. Are you
Yes.
the essential workers? We
Yes.
learned what essential was. And for God, judging is not even essential. And it's like, how can you even imagine a God
Yes.
where judging isn't essential? Isn't that basically
Isn't that
what
God's job?
role
To judge.
His
It's
role, isn't that his role?
Isn't that what God does? Judge.
Sit around
It's
judge
like,
all
no.
day? Just judge.
No.
If you make 1 million people, that's a lot of judgment. Make 1 billion people, that's a lot of judgment.
Exactly. And the Course in Miracles literally says you do not need judgment to organize your life. And you don't need judgment to be safe. You don't need judgment to be safe. Why? Because it's not our judgment that determines what reality is. It's not our judgment that does anything, Truly, we don't need judgment to be safe. We don't need judgment to organize our lives. We don't need judgment to be safe in our relationships. We think we do. We think, well, I got to make a judgment on this guy in order to, be safe in this relationship. No, you don't. You don't need to understand who they are, what they're, why they did it. You don't have to understand their motivation to be safe, to be happy. Literally, you do not need judgment to be safe, to be happy, to organize your life at all. You literally could go, I don't know what this means. Hey, God. Hey, love, what does this mean? You decide for me. And then only good will come after that.
Right.
Literally. That's all you would have to do to have happiness.
Especially when that's what you're looking for.
Yes, exactly.
That's what you're looking for. Like, what was that sentence? Whenever you make or create
whatever
in your own eyes.
But it's not necessarily in the sight of God.
Right.
Exactly. So you don't need judgment. Okay? God, all that we learned about the God of judgment, false learning.
Okay.
False learning. I know that's hard to hear.
Redo. I know some of us are old.
I know.
I know some of us have gotten up there in our years, but redo, erase.
Exactly.
Erase the way we've been taught about God.
And that's
let's
why
start up, let's do over.
And that's why A Course in Miracles is such a threat to all religions. All religions. A Course in Miracles is a threat to all religions because it says the exact opposite of all religions and all philosophies that we've all learned. What A Course in Miracles is telling us about God is the exact opposite of what we've all learned. God is not a judgmental God. God is not an angry God. God is not a vengeful God. God is not even judgmental. Golly, that is the opposite.
And it confirms more and more why A Course in Miracles has been established by some of the top religions in the world as one of the top satanic curriculums on the face of the earth.
That's why.
And it's not to be funny, it's just, I can see it now how it would be fearful for them, because so many religions, they want to paint a God of judgment, a God holding a rod, a sword, or a lightning rod, getting ready to judge.
Yes.
And that is not the God of creation.
Yes.
Or you could say the God of love, or better, you could say the God of mercy.
Exactly. And the concept of God is something that has been evolving. You know, way back in the days when the Jews were, you know, in the desert, you know, they had you know, humanity was young, you know, and the concept of God is evolving over time. And just because, you know, at the beginning of humanity misinterpreted God as a judgmental, punishing parent, doesn't mean that, you know, we as humans, you know, the concept of God is evolving. And now the concept of God has evolved in humanity's evolution to God is only a God of mercy, not a God of judgment. God is not angry. And as always, when a new concept of God arrives, what does the old concept, what does the old teachings do? They attack the new teachings. Anytime a new revelation of God or love appears, what does the old belief system do?
Want to crucify it.
Crucify.
And it's
Crucify
only because of fear, because you're taking away what seems like their foundation.
Exactly.
You know, you're taking away what they've been teaching and
Exactly.
how they've learned it themselves.
Exactly.
And so that's why I say I don't even laugh at that system anymore, because I see it for what it is more and more. It was created out of fear, and it was handed down through the generation, to one generation after the other. You can't blame those that are teaching something that was taught to them.
Exactly.
But when a new
revelation
message comes into town,
when a new revelation
comes a new revelation, people are real skeptical, especially if it takes away their idols, which is the idol of, don't take my God of judgment away. I mean, that's the story, is, you know, God, the way the story up in heaven goes is, you know, Gabriel comes over to God and goes, hey, are you going to make it over to the game tonight? I would, but we just had a big amount of people come in that I created, that they all need to be judged, and we got a bad lot this time, so it's not like we're going to go.
Be busy tonight.
It's not like
I'll
we're
be
going
going all night.
Yeah, and Anna and I learned when we went to Mexico. We always thought it would be wonderful to have, you know, a retreat center, but what we didn't always think would be wonderful is to create something that would create a job for us. Why would God create billions and billions of people, countless, a number that no man could even count, and make a job for God's own self to sit around and judge, spend all of his time going, and what were you doing on that bubblegum aisle on July 7th there, little Johnny, thinking about not paying for that bubblegum? That's not looking good here in your life review. Johnny sitting there trembling, waiting for the final
pooping
judgment.
His pants.
Going, oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I wish I hadn't stole that bubblegum when I was 7.
I wish this being didn't create me, because now if I wasn't created, I wouldn't be in this final judgment situation. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And so now's our opportunity to be willing to face our fear, which is, well, is it blaspheming to look beyond that belief system and see if there's a different way to believe, a different way to live, a different way to understand? What if I tried that? Would I be subjecting myself
to blaspheming?
To hellish ideas? Or would I be actually, for some of us, for the first time perhaps, having a real deal experience with our Creator, because now we'll be able to be with our Creator as our Creator is, a non-judgmental, merciful, loving,
only merciful, only merciful, only merciful. Yeah, and so, and you're right. It's our greatest fear. You know, that isn't facing our ultimate fear. Is What if I learned wrongly? What if what I learned in the past was not the truth? And let me open my mind to another perception, another, that's the ultimate fear. Our ultimate fear is the fear of blasphemy, our ultimate fear is to question what we learned in the past, even though what we learned in the past led us to be afraid of God. How could that be good if it led us to be afraid of our Creator, who is only love and merciful?
Well, none of us, including Anna or me, none of us want to be deceived. But none of us have ever considered that we're already deceived. And it's not about being deceived, it's about being undeceived.
Yes.
Being undeceived.
Unlearning, being undeceived, being unbrainwashed.
Yeah.
Unbrainwashed, okay.
All
So
right.
that was 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
That's how juicy and deep Course in Miracles is. You can do 2 paragraphs for the rest of your life. Hi, Bridget. Lovely to see you, dear. Hi, mighty companion, Bridget. All right. So now we're going to go into paragraph 3. Just as the detour into fear that we took,
the idea that judgment is
real,
something we need to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Just as the detour into fear and guilt occurred over many millions of years, as a long time as we judge it.
Many millions, not just a millions.
Yes,
but
yeah,
plural, and
yes.
many of them, many millions.
You could also say, just like the going to sleep of humanity occurred over millions of years,
Yes.
so will the last judgment extend over a similarly long period, and perhaps even longer, because you know how we like to delay and drag our feet. Now, the length of the last judgment, the length of it depends, however, on the effectiveness of the present speed up.
I love that.
Oh, you said there's a present speed up going on. Because, God in the universe is like, come on, you don't have to waste another million years. You could do it now. Come on. The speed up. Come on, you don't have to take another million years.
For me, this is one of those deals where Anna and I joke once in a while that, boy, we'll be reading a book and we'll be like, how is this happening? It seems like the characters in this book we're the characters. And how is it happening to where, as we're reading it, it's Christmas time, and it is Christmas time. And all these things are happening in the book as they're happening in our life. And right now, the other day I was joking around to you, if you remember, about, having this feeling that we came here to be a part of the awakening.
The Great Awakening.
To be a part of what it's calling here.
The present speed up.
The present. Right now. You could call it the right now speed up. It isn't something that's coming. It isn't something that happened. It's something that's going on right now. It's the present. It's the current. It's the right now moment speed up that we're here to bring about. You, myself, Anna, all of us are here at this present time in the millions of years to bring about
the present speed up. Or there's 3 names in the present speed up, the celestial speed up,
yes.
and the Great Awakening.
Yes.
Okay.
And Robert Perry addresses the celestial speed up women.
Exactly what I just said. Okay. So there is a celestial speed up, a present speed up, and the Great Awakening. Those are 3 synonyms that A Course in Miracles gives to what's going on now. And basically what that means is there's something going on whose purpose is to save us all time. Time for what? Save us time for what? Save us time to the point where we all wake up where we all go, oh, there is no judgment. Love isn't judging. God isn't judging. We're all innocent. Forget about that. Forget about all that. You know, what is so now? What is the truth? And the truth is that there is no sin. God is not judging us. There's no need for us to judge. And, you know, let's just work on accepting what is instead of like, oh, I'm afraid of being judged, so I'm going to live in fear of being judged. You know, that's what the present speed up is all about.
Yeah, some religions are waiting on what they call the second coming. And what the second coming is it's a mirror reflection of the first coming, when everything is very good. In the first coming, there was God's one and only everlasting judgment of everything is very good.
It's good.
The second coming will be nothing different.
Yes.
It will only be that everything is the same, that God changes not.
Nothing changes. Nothing changed.
That everything's it'd be like, oh, everything very good.
Oh.
The only difference is we'll go still.
Still, exactly.
Everything's very good still.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Nice. And that's the great speed up is returning back to the beginning of creation
instead
as
of waiting.
It was, which is how it is now.
It's like we were the first line of the section at the Miracle Center today, the 12:30 service. The first line was, "Why wait for heaven?"
Why wait? Exactly.
Why wait for heaven? You know, heaven is here, heaven is now.
Right.
You know, and the speed up, the celestial speed up is like, it's exactly as it was in the beginning.
Right.
It's still now. It's all good. You're all good. You're innocent. You're guiltless now and forever. Same message then, same message, same first judgment. God looked upon God's creation and went, oh, good. And then, you know, and we could go, oh, it's all good still, no guilt, there is no sin now.
And then when things like, I'll never leave you or forsake you make more sense.
Yes, exactly.
I'll never leave you or forsake you is everything is still all good.
Exactly.
Has never left us or forsaken us.
And so
it's always been that way. It always has been that way.
Exactly.
It always will be that way. And thank God
and I really,
it is that way right now.
And I really do see in this moment what it's talking about, the celestial speed up, the present speed up, the Great Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And because I see that in our world. I see that the attendance in the religions, the religions of the world, maybe you call it the Abrahamic religions, you know, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There's a waning, there's a decreasing attendance, there's a decreasing agreement with the old belief, the old spiritual religious belief systems.
You could call it a present speed up.
Yes.
Of the other direction.
Exactly. You know, currently there's a present speed up or celestial speed up where literally you can, anywhere you go in the world, you can say these ideas and people are like, yeah, yes. Anywhere you go in the world, you could say A Course in Miracles, and there's probably a 75% chance that whoever you're talking to will be like, yeah, I've heard of that. You know, so there is a speed up and people going, yeah, I'm that old, like, hellfire, fire and brimstone, sin and guilt. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
That doesn't sound like a God of love.
No. And then if you look at the numbers, the religious numbers, you know, every single religion is reporting lower numbers in attendance at their particular church, mosque, synagogue. They're all reporting lower numbers. Why? Because there is a celestial speed up happening where more and more people are going, yeah, I don't know about that whole sin thing. That doesn't really make sense. It don't really know about like gay people going to hell. I don't know about that whole like if you had sex before marriage you're going to hell. I don't know about that all that. I don't know about all that. If you get divorced you're going to hell, or I don't know. That doesn't really seem loving. That doesn't really seem real. So there is a present speed up. There is a celestial speed up occurring where people are going, I don't know if that old belief system about
too much doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
How
that
could you
doesn't
have
really
a perfect God, an infallible God, a God who could do no wrong, but yet makes a creation that only a few of its creation live for eternity like God's own self.
Exactly.
That sounds like a big failure to me.
Exactly.
The biggest failure experiment in the world is, look at my creation, 98% of it died.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, why did that happen? Well, I didn't think things out really good. I put a tree in the middle of this garden.
And then the woman.
And then told the children.
And then the woman.
But you don't tell children, don't touch that.
Yeah, and then the woman, tempted, and that's all. Always something about a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a present speed up, a celestial speed up, where people are questioning the old belief systems based on sin and guilt and separation and judgment. That everybody's like, I don't know about that. Okay, that's a big part of that celestial speed up that is occurring, the Great Awakening, and how wonderful that is. That what took us millions of years to come to today doesn't have to take another million years to get to. So maybe it took us a million years to get to this, but from here,
many millions of years.
Right, but notice, how the current youth, if you talk to the youth of today, they're like, that is like, so, they are like, oh, that's ridiculous. It took us a million years to get past the sin, separation, guilt, concept
and we think
of
we
God.
have it figured out, but yet we have a world of war.
But if you talk to children of today, they'll be like, that whole guilt and sin thing, that's ridiculous. There's a speed up occurring. And it says, so, just as the detour into fear and guilt may have taken millions of years, the last judgment, which means the end of judgment, will extend over a similarly long period and perhaps even longer. Its length depends, however, on the effectiveness of the present speed up. Okay? And you are part of the present speed up. We are part of the celestial speed up. We are part of the celestial speed up. So maybe it doesn't take another million years to wake up from that old sin, guilt, separation paradigm that it took us a million years to wake up from. Maybe it doesn't need to take another million years because of us.
Exactly.
And so you are needed, you are important in the
Everybody
speed up.
Everybody that's joining this, you could call it a crusade, but everybody that's joining this awakening is part of the helpfulness. It's part of the
saving time.
People recognizing, man, when I'm around, Bridget, I notice that I just don't get any condemnation. It feels good to be around her. I think that's what it is. Why it feels good to be around her. Is, I'll say things to her and everybody else tells me how stupid that is and how she just supports me in that.
Exactly.
No condemnation, no judgment, just being helpful and uplifting and trusting us, showing the example what it's like to trust the universe. Now, are we going to slip and fall all the time? We sure are. We're going to slip and fall a lot, but that's okay because we're still got our aim on the prize, and that's why it's a speed up. It's not a call to got there already. It's called a speed up, and I'm so excited that we are We're in at
Part of
least
that.
the phase of the speed up.
Yes.
We're in the phase of the speed up.
And A Course in Miracles tells us that every teacher of love, which means every person who's decided they want to be part of the loving solution instead of the problem of fear and guilt, every single demonstrator of love saves 1,000 years of time as the world judges time. So in the celestial speed up, you save 1,000 years of time for humanity. You save 1,000 years of time of suffering for humanity. I save 1,000 years of time of suffering for humanity. Every single person who says, I want to be part of the celestial speed up where we go from sin is real and guilt is real to there is no sin and we're all innocent. I want to be part of that. Every single person who says I want to be part of that, the Great Awakening, saves 1,000 years of time toward that Great Awakening as the world judges time. And so it's so beautiful, so beautiful. You save 1,000 years of time. I save 1,000 years of time. You save 1,000 years of time toward what? To humanity's awakening to there is no guilt. There's nothing to feel guilty about. I am not guilty. I am innocent. And now all I want to do is give love. And now I am only love, and they are only love, and only love is real.
And how does that work in a practical sense? The next time we're tempted to judge and we catch ourselves and remember that we're part of the speed up process, we're part of the healing process, we've only come to be helpful.
Yes.
Next time we're tempted to issue and render judgment, we all know what it is. We catch ourselves.
Yep.
And that one act doesn't save 1,000 years. But you see what the Course is teaching us. That one act of catching ourselves in the act of judgment and not performing it and going, how do you see this, Spirit? Or just not even doing anything and just now reverting back into trusting Creator that everything's good. So in other words, I'm not having to judge the situation. Why do I need to judge if I know and trust everything good? Why would I need to judge the situation? And that one act stops this world of illusion to keep rolling.
Yes.
That one act is like literally applying the brake to the rotation of this illusionary world of pain, suffering, war, lack, sorrow. That literally applies the brake ever so slower and slower, but it's speeding up to come to a full stop to where all there is left is love.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Beautiful. And so it says, we have frequently noted that the miracle, which is all the ideas in this book, the miracle is a device for shortening but not abolishing time.
And the way I hear that is, the miracle is the ability not to judge.
Let's say this. Well, we have frequently noted, and notice how the Course in Miracles is saying we.
Yeah.
So it's not just the author of A Course in Miracles. It sounds like there's a team working together. Very often you'll hear we have said, we have frequently noted. So in other words, it sounds like there's a celestial team that is behind A Course in Miracles. There's a heavenly celestial team behind A Course in Miracles. So, you got fantastic backing. As a student of Course in Miracles.
Not just one person that we're calling on.
We're calling on them.
Yeah, them.
All y'all.
I think you'd be flipped out if you knew how many thems that you're getting.
And the Course in Miracles does say, it literally says that you are supported by legions.
Yeah.
And one time I looked at, what does legions mean? Numbers wise. And there's a certain number associated with legions. Like a legion is this much, but legions. And it was a lot.
Yeah,
And so, of course, in
like
Miracles
10,000
says you
times
are,
10,000
exactly, you are
something like that.
supported by legions of heavenly helpers. So it says, we have frequently noted that the miracle is a device for shortening but not abolishing time. Well, we could say this. We have frequently noted that A Course in Miracles is a device for shortening but not abolishing time.
That putting on the brakes. It's not coming to a full
Right,
stop,
but it's putting on the
bringing
brakes.
it to a stop.
Exactly. And then it says, if a sufficient number of people, okay, become truly miracle-minded quickly. Hey, honey, we need to become miracle-minded quickly. There's some stuff going down, honey. There's a celestial speed up going on. We need to become miracle-minded quickly. And it says, and if a sufficient number of humans become truly miracle-minded quickly,
yes,
then the shortening process can be almost immeasurable. That's what it means to say that each teacher of love saves 1,000 years of time as the world judges time.
As the world judges.
It's the same thing as saying if a sufficient number of people become truly miracle-minded quickly, the shortening process can be almost immeasurable. How would you like to feel like I saved humanity 1,000 years of suffering?
No, immeasurable. Like not 1,000 years. That'd be like 10 lifetimes. That's measurable. But I don't know how many lifetimes that Anna saved. She must have saved like 140, 180 lifetimes.
Just a day.
It was some crazy number.
It was a crazy number. It's immeasurable. Can't count it.
Immeasurable. We're not going to try it.
It's immeasurable.
It would hurt our head.
Even if you would like got out your calculator.
That'd be boring. That's not good.
You couldn't measure it. You could not. If a sufficient number of humans become truly miracle-minded quickly, the shortening process can be almost immeasurable.
Yeah, because it will start reflecting in the world as we see it. Because when we don't judge, then we're just allowing love to come. And when we're allowing just love to come, our experience, our world outside of ourselves will reflect that.
Yes, exactly.
And then it will become immeasurable. But, you know, I love how it teases us, if a sufficient number of people.
Greg's like, how many is that?
How's many?
I have got my calculator. What is a sufficient number? Come on, tell me. Let me calculate it. And so, you know, and so it's saying that when it says, if a sufficient number of people become truly miracle-minded quickly, the shortening process can be almost immeasurable. Now, what does it mean when it says a sufficient number of people becoming truly miracle-minded? Okay, so what does it mean to become truly miracle-minded quickly? It's this. Okay. Would you like to become miracle-minded quickly? Doesn't that sound like a pitch for like, you know, like a
and you're sitting there
sales
not saying it.
Yeah. Would you like to become miracle-minded quickly? Okay, it is this. But it's essential that these miracle workers free themselves from fear sooner than would ordinarily be the case. So, what does it mean to be miracle-minded? It means you free yourself from fear sooner than later.
Well, then would ordinarily be the case. In other words, when this situation comes in, ordinarily,
it might take me years.
You would have a lot of fear.
And it would take me years to get over it.
But in this case, you free yourself of fear than ordinarily the time that it would have taken.
It really, like, let's say, like, you know, in our relationship, you know, there was a time where if one of us got triggered with fear, how long would it take us to free ourselves from that fear?
Yeah,
might have taken
it could have been
days, weeks.
Weeks.
But But because we signed up to the Great Awakening, now we can free ourselves from fear
sooner than it would have normally taken, because before we didn't have all the tools that we have now, telling ourselves, well, I do know that by me being like that, I'm in my ego.
Yeah, exactly.
In other words, I'm identifying where my state of mind, where my state of consciousness is, because of the tools that A Course in Miracles has given us.
So, yes.
Now, just because I recognize that I'm in my ego doesn't mean I'm willing to give up
to free himself
my grievance that
from
I'm
fear.
carrying.
Right.
And that's been a process in A Course in Miracles. But I tell you what, I get out of my grievances a lot faster when I recognize where I'm at with my grievances.
Which means that he is becoming truly miracle-minded more quickly than he would have in the past. That means that Greg is freeing himself from fear sooner than he would have ordinarily done so in the past.
Thanks to the tools of A Course in Miracles in this curriculum.
Which means that he is emerging from the basic conflict between fear and love, because Greg wants to be able to bring peace to the minds of others.
There we go.
Okay, you know,
There's the goal.
And that is what it means to become miracle-minded. Okay, so this is what it means to become miracle-minded. So if a sufficient number of people become truly miracle-minded, then the awakening process for humanity can be shortened immeasurably. And what does it mean to become truly miracle-minded? It's like this, like Greg was saying. I, who would have nursed my fear and stayed in my fear for weeks, months, years, or lifetimes, am actually going to free myself from my fear in a week. That's what it means to become miracle-minded. And as I save myself time and become miracle-minded in a week instead of a year, a lifetime, 20 lifetimes, then I am saving humanity that same amount of time.
Every time you do that.
Exactly. I'm saving I just saved myself years of suffering in a week.
Because every day that you didn't cut the cycle down and you stayed in your grievance, you added exponentially time to the illusion.
And to humanity's suffering
but whenever
from
you
fear.
cut that down, because of the tools that you've learned to use,
From A Course in Miracles.
you might have cut it down 3 days of carrying that grievance around because you realize, oh, I'm in my ego. Oh, but I don't want to let go of it. Oh, but I'm going to listen to the Course and try to find love and truth again. Oh, I guess they are like me in some ways. Oh, I guess I'll forgive them. Oh, I guess I'll make some dinner for them, and hopefully they'll want to talk to me, and hopefully we can work this out somehow. And then, okay, we had dinner, and oh, it feels so much better to love and to hate. And we went through the process, but we saved 3 days, and that 3 days could be like a day as 1,000 years to the Lord. Maybe you just saved 3,000 years
for humanity
of having to add to us being in this collective hell that we built.
Yes.
And every time we do loving attributes, we're cutting down
the time.
That
we're
time.
Saving.
We're either adding
yes.
BS time, or we're saving us BS time, which
exactly.
allows more of loving time.
Exactly.
If you get rid of the BS, then all you have is no BS left.
Exactly. It's like a prisoner on in jail. It's and every fearful, angry, guilty thought that you give to others, you are literally adding time to the prisoner's sentence. And every loving idea of mercy, no judgment, that you choose, you are literally saying that the prisoners of the world, you've just decreased their sentence. You've reduced their sentence of humanity. And what would make you feel better about yourself than to say, I saved humanity 3,000 years of suffering today? I mean, honestly, you know, what's going to make you feel better about yourself? That, or like, I got a promotion at work today. I got a raise. Okay, that's nice. Okay. Well, what about I saved humanity 3 years of suffering and
I didn't add to this big...
I didn't, exactly. Humanity's suffering, humanity's sentence, you know.
This big cluster muck.
Yes, cluster muck, exactly.
I want to read this last sentence because I think we're ending here anyway, but I never have had this thought before. It's so interesting. Because they must emerge.
Yes, but it's essential.
Like that,
I know, but we didn't read here.
Oh.
5.
I thought we did.
No. But.
Oh, okay. You read it.
No, you read it.
No, I thought we finished it.
We didn't.
All right. Read it.
Okay, but. Okay, I'll read the sentence before it. If a sufficient number of people become truly mercy-minded.
There you go.
Instead of judgment.
I love that.
Okay.
That's a perfect word.
If a sufficient number of people become truly mercy-minded.
Mercy-minded.
Quickly.
It's going to be my thing this week.
Mercy-minded. Be mercy-minded. Be mercy-minded.
Down, yell at that driver behind me. Hopefully remember, mercy-minded. Am I going to give mercy, not just to that guy, but to all of us collectively?
Right.
To shorten the time.
Exactly. If a sufficient number of people become truly mercy-minded quickly, then the shortening process of humanity's awakening can be almost immeasurable. But it is essential that these mercy-minded individuals free themselves from fear or judgment sooner than would ordinarily be the case. Why? Because they, the mercy-minded, must, underline must, emerge from the basic conflict if they, the mercy-minded, are to bring peace to the minds of others.
Right.
In other words, if you're going to bring peace to others, you gotta free yourself from judgment. You want to be part of the Great Awakening and the healing of mankind. You gotta release yourself from judgment.
Yeah, if we bring, this is what I haven't thought before, that last part of the sentence there, because you and I, the mercy-minded miracle workers. We're the mercy-minded miracle workers.
Who can save time.
And we're emerging
from our own conflict.
In this quickening, awakening, the speed-up process. We are emerging right now from what?
Our own conflict.
From the basic conflict. It's a basic conflict that we all share. And what is that?
Judgment or mercy?
Instead of bringing judgment, we're bringing peace to the minds of others.
Humanity.
When you're in a courtroom setting and the judge renders no judgment, in other words, you're free. Mercy has been rendered. The first thing that you're going to experience is peace.
Yeah.
But if mercy wasn't rendered and judgment was brought down, the last thing you're going to experience is a sense of peace. You're going to feel a sense of bondage, a sense of fear. And when you and I are giving peace to the minds of others, and what just hit me as we've been reading here is our community. You know what I'm talking about when I talk to you now. Our community loves to say, love and light, I'm sending you.
Blessings and prayers.
Sending you blessings and prayers. I'm praying for you. But we send and we believe, and rightly so, that something in us knows we have the power to transmit, to send to the minds of others. I can send to your mind peace. I can send to your mind whatever. But we don't think, well, when I'm talking about that particular president or that particular leader or that particular school superintendent or whoever, they're not here, but I'm doing the same concept. I'm sending to their mind, just as if I was sending peace and love to you. I'm sending you light and love, peace and joy, happiness, abundance. I'm sending that to you. Well, when we're sending something else, even when the person's not present, all we're doing is extending time in our prison cell.
For humanity.
For humanity. That's all we're doing. Is actually we're throwing paint back onto the wall that the miracle workers are all trying to get painted off. Mm-hmm. All the sloth we're throwing up on the wall, which is all of our judgment. Mm-hmm. And as long as we keep doing that, that's how long we all stay here. Mm-hmm. And the miracle worker realizes, hey, to get out of here, and we're not leaving alone. We're leaving together. Uh-huh. But to get out of here, to get all this black, dirty, filthy, hogwash, suffering all over the wall, we need to get it.
We need to take everybody with us. You know, you don't get out of hell alone. Judging. Exactly, by stopping judging. And so it says, you know, if you are going to bring peace to the minds of others, do you want to bring peace to the minds of others? Of course you do. That's why you're a miracle worker. That's why you watch this. That's why you study A Course in Miracles, because you want to bring peace to the minds of others. If you are going to bring peace to the minds of others, you yourself have got to emerge from the basic conflict, which means you yourself have to free yourself from fear sooner than you might have before.
Mm-hmm. That's how you do it.
You know,
that's the process.
And which means that you have to free yourself from fear, which means that you need to become miracle-minded yourself. And we heard so far in this section how you do that, how you become miracle-minded, how you free yourself from fear so that you could free others from fear and save humanity time. You know, how you can, like, humanity will eventually emerge from fear. It will occur. That's a given. But you yourself can help humanity save time so it doesn't take another 1,000,000 years. You know, I want to help humanity awake from fear now instead of another 1,000,000 years from now. And it's telling us how to do that.
Exactly. And the Course tells us that the Course is very practical. And
yes.
This is one of
it's all about saving time.
The great examples of how practical the Course is.
Yeah, it's pretty practical, saving humanity time.
Because it's telling us, as Anna was saying, exactly how to do it. Is you're not going to emerge out of fear. You're not fear. You're not going to snap your finger and wake up tomorrow morning and go, okay, I
have no fear.
I read the book. I don't have any fear. The way we get out of fear is we get out sooner than we ordinarily would have the last time we had this experience or this encounter.
Yes.
Last time we were in this experience and we were in fear for 5 days, and now it's 3 days.
There have been epochs in human history where we didn't get out of fear before our planet was destroyed. You know, and so we have another chance to choose again where we could emerge from fear and help humanity to emerge from fear sooner. You know, where our planet doesn't have to be destroyed, where our world doesn't have to be destroyed. You know, and that's our mission. That's our mission as miracle workers in the Great Awakening. You know, and of course, in Miracles is teaching us about our job, our work, our part in the Great Awakening for humanity, and so that where we can save humanity time, where humanity can wake up to the truth before we destroy our world and then have to come back and start all over at the beginning again. So, there you go.
Well, we can pick up in 4, and it goes all the way to 8.
So next Sunday,
Or next,
we will pick up at paragraph 4.
Next Tuesday.
Or Tuesday. So Tuesday, we will pick up at paragraph 4.
Beautiful.
All right, and I just put a note and...
Talking about the last judgment. And you would have thought that would have been a heavy, you know, wearisome subject. But it's so, you can see where this is going. The last judgment is going to be when you and I stop judging. The last time we ever judged. Because it's not an essential part of God.
And it's not been like God's been judging.
Not something needed.
It was our thing. We've been the ones judging. So the last judgment is when we stop judging.
Yeah. And it's funny, again, how we started at the beginning of class talking about, just think about during your day how much time is spent judging. I mean,
we call it thinking.
Yeah, we are judgment addicts. So let's see how we do in the next couple of days, and Tuesday night we can talk.
Yeah.
We can see how it went.
Exactly, and if you want to read the next several paragraphs of this, then by next Tuesday you'll know where we're going with this.
It'll be fun. Read the end of this,
exactly.
4 through 8.
Yeah.
And then come back
and
in,
let's talk.
It will even be deeper for all of us.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys.
You guys are awesome. Appreciate you all so much. Thanks for your participation.
Chapter 2, Irene.
Chapter 2, section 13 in the annotated edition.